Hello, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving week. I'm wondering what you guys are doing. What kind of projects are you sewing? How about that? Because I know you sneak off to your sewing room and do a project or something when everybody's sleeping, or you take that downtime. So let me know. Give me some comments as to what you're doing. Today, it's a different day than what we normally do. Normally, we're on Thursdays at 1 Mountain Time, 3 Eastern Standard Time. But we did it today because of Thanksgiving week. Hey, Christine, thanks for joining me. Um, but our focus today was derived from a question from Leslie last week in regards to batiks. And I wanted to talk about motif application. So I'm breaking different aspects of how batiks are made down, and of course, it has to correlate with the color added and the wax added, and all of that kind of thing go hand in hand to make a beautiful product. Oh my goodness, Janet, Judy, Patricia, and Cecilia, thanks for joining today. Um, but what we're going to talk about is the motif application. Okay, and what it is it's applying wax to fabric. Applying wax, the fabric's already colored most of the time, and you apply the wax, and that wax is the design or the motif, and that wax holds the color. So then you can do the other processes, but that's the color then that's in the motif. Now, how is the wax applied? It's applied via a chop normally. Okay, there's a lot of other variables that go into this, and I'll talk a little bit about pushing the envelope. Leslie and Paul are here today. Thanks for joining, guys. So the wax is applied via a chop. Okay, and I'm going to talk about the chop a little bit, but the making of the chop, and you can kind of see the design here on this one. This one is from a collection we have coming out called Stardust. It's going to hit stores in January, so you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of this one today. Okay, if you notice here, I've got their little pieces of copper, okay, that have been molded to the design that I created, and you can see in that there's circles. It's open circles. Every single one of them is an open circle, right? Okay, but in the finished product, which is this right here, you can see not all of them are open circles. That's because the wax pools. All right, so when I create the design, I have to know that the wax is going to pool a little bit and give us closed in circles as well as the open circles. And you'll notice that it's a pretty fine line on this one, right? It's a very fine line to get those little teeny dots or those little circles. If I'm using a fine line, I don't want it to pool that much. So when you dip it in the wax, you're going to dip it in the hot wax, and then you apply it to the fabric. The length of time that you keep it down on the fabric makes the wax pool more, right? Because it's a liquid that you've dipped it into, all right? And it makes the wax pool more. Well, if I've got, look at the negative space now in that, and see all the negative space? I don't want to obliterate the negative space. That's my ground colors that I've applied after. All right, so I want to make sure that it's not held down too long on the fabric to hold that color, but long enough to apply the wax to make sure it doesn't flake off. All right. So yes, in answer to Leslie's question, is there a right side and wrong side to a batik? Yeah, there is. There is the side that the wax is applied to is the right side. Now, wax is a liquid that's going to seep through the fabric, right? So most of the time, it's going to be, it's very difficult to see the right side and the wrong side. But if I'm doing something a little more sophisticated with the finer lines, like in this chop, or in this one right here with the dots, okay? I want to make sure, and you can see on the stems of the berries there too, I want to make sure that they don't hold it too long, because if they hold it, it's going to flood out my negative space. So sometimes maybe the wax doesn't go through as much to the back, and you can kind of see little pinpricks of the background color that show through because the wax didn't hold all the way through. Yes, Scott asks, is it a special wax? In regards to the wax, that's a whole different thing too. The wax, we use different wax during rainy season and during the regular sunny season, because the wax, when the wax is applied, like I said, it's a liquid, right? And goes onto the fabric. In Indonesia, it's very hot and humid, all right? So the wax doesn't have that much cracking. You can see this piece here, and you can see all the cracking in there. This is just a wax on white. You can see the cracking in there. I'm in Colorado, okay? One reason it would crack is because it's very dry here, all right? And the wax that's used during rainy season, like I said, is a different consistency than, say, the wax that's used in the sunny season. Another thing is, if you look at this again, you can see there's a lot of expanse of wax, right? There's a lot of filled in space. So on the chop, let me see which one. How about this one? On the chop here, where the dots are, see how it's filled in? Okay, with copper. It's not a solid piece. These are all little teeny pieces of copper that are put together, that are welded together to make this chop, to make my design. Remember, it takes about 20 days for each one of these chops to be made, all right? But where it's filled in there, that's going to hold more of the wax. But see how they have little bits of negative space in there, not a solid piece of copper? First of all, they're using little pieces of copper that all have the same width. All right, because when you apply it, you have to have the same width. If it's wobbly, your wax isn't going to be applied evenly, right? But if they're filling in a space, they give a little bit of relief because they know it's going to pool. Okay, it's going to pool a little bit and fill in that space, just like it did for this dot one, right? Okay, there's the dots. There's negative space in the dots, but you can see how in this fabric the certain ones pooled, and that's because we did a smaller dot and a little bit larger dot, but I knew it was going to pool to give me that variance with the dots. You have to think also about the negative space, like I said, in between, say, these lines right here, or where the copper is, because that's your background, right? Now look at this chop. It's not, in general, it's about an 8.5-inch square or a 20 centimeter, okay? But see how I've got it, so on the sides here, it kind of indents here on this side, and then it goes in here, little out here, and then it bulges out on top here, and not so much down here, right? Okay, that's so it can repeat, so you can't really see a stamp kind of repeat, all right? Now, if I were to hold this down, if I had, like with this one, it's got the dots right there that are filled in. But if I hold it down pretty long, especially with the filled in areas, that's a lot of wax it's picking up. And then it can hold the wax down. And again, it's a liquid, okay, when the wax is applied. Now, we showed you a couple of things today in regards to wax application or motif application. One of them being the African violets. And this is what we call a double chop application, right? It's kind of like an animal skin look, okay? So we did the double application or 2 different chops and did color application in between and bleach out the color in between as well for a layered or more layered look, all right? The Ride-On collection, I think we also featured, and we talked about a little bit about quality control with this, okay? This one right here, I think this will show best. This one right here, okay? You see where it's filled in certain areas, and then it's just an outline in other areas, right? Well, I have to make sure when I'm doing the designs that, yes, I get the color held in place by the wax, but I also want negative space. Because when they go and take, where it's not filled in with wax, when they go and take it and do the smoking technique or smocking or, okay, it's scrunching it up, right? And it's making it so the color can spread easier and the soda ash can explode the color better. When they do that process, you're going to get crinkling of the wax, right? You can kind of hear the crinkling here, right? And then the wax can flake off. So you've got to think about having negative space in your designs. And when this goes through the quality control, what they look for before it gets the background color applied, they go through and make sure all of this, where it's supposed to have the solid wax, they make sure it does. They make sure also that maybe some wax didn't drip in a certain area, and they wash that off before it gets the background color applied. Okay. Now, the Ride On, this is another one right here. This is a lot bigger than the 8.5-inch repeat, isn't it? This tire tracks, or spokes and wheels as we call it. Okay. And the way we've done this is a little bit different. We took a big screen, hand-done screen, and we used what I like to call peanut butter wax. Okay. It's the consistency of peanut butter, so it's not a liquid. And then we scrape it over the screen and we apply the wax. And then the background, we've just, instead of scrunching it up and applying color, we've more painted on the color or dip dyed it. Okay. So this is more of a peanut butter wax application, or so it's not as liquid. And then I can get finer lines, can't I? You can see on the spokes here, you can get a lot finer lines. But there's limitations with that application as well. I have to be careful what color I'm putting over it. So it's just a matter of using the different applications. I think we also showed you some from the Elevation collection. Elevation is new. It's a new collection. It's going to hit stores in June. And we showed you some of that being applied. And I think it's this one right here. It's the downhill skiers. I think you can probably see it better in this one with the camera, right? You can kind of see it's silhouettes of downhill skiers and trees. Just if it cuts up into, it gives a texture kind of thing. But if you wanted, you can get the scenic effect with it too. But you can see I made sure I had negative space. And those are just little strips of copper that are going to hold the wax. We have a couple of videos on the Banyan Batik's website. And if you check out my YouTube, there's a couple of things on the Elevation. We've done a lot of different applications to go with this collection. And you can see this. This is a border stripe. Now look at those little dots, right? Those are little teeny dots of copper that we have cut. Let me see if I can find the chop. The paisley chop gives you an idea of what the dot would look like. Okay. See on there? Just one little teeny piece of copper, right? But it's got to be the same width, so it's nice and smooth when it dips into the wax. And that's what you can get from that. I have a couple of the pieces here of that chop. Let's see right here, the navy blue, and that's what this makes. Okay, and then this one right here is also that chop. Okay, so we can get into a color application another time, because you can see there's a lot of color in the background, right, of that one. Same with this one right here, a lot of color in the background there, and I use less color in the motif on that one. And then just to mix it up, because we can, using this particular chop here, I took it and I did it like this, okay, with two applications there. And then I also decided it'd be kind of fun to do an overlay of metallic, okay. So I did this chop application, and then I did an overlay of the metallic. Now, the metallic, here's the back of it, is not on the back, right? So there is a right and a wrong side on batiks, especially if you get into the more detailed and the different techniques that they have that they've done for hundreds of years. So it's a lot of fun for me to explore those. Another thing that we've done is, and I'm sure you've seen these in stores, luster. This one does not use a chop. This one uses bleach as more of a way to get the motifs in there, and an overprinting of black and a little bit of metallic. Is there a right and wrong side of it? Yeah, there is. you can see it. But maybe you want something that's more a sunshine shadow kind of thing and use the backing, or the back of it. You absolutely can. All right. More detail on the front of a batik than on the back, because that is where the wax is applied, or where, in this sense, the bleach is applied via a screen. So I've done it without the wax application on this particular essential. This one's been in stores. We have new colors that are coming out, I think, to stores in June. But I was very excited to show you these Stardust chops, because they're coming to stores in, this collection's coming to stores in January. And I've been playing with that, and that's actually what I'm working on. This weekend, I'm working on completing the main shop hop quilt. I get to do that. So I'm very excited about that. I just wanted to let you know, please make a comment. We do a drawing every single week. Oh, just got a question. Is metallic stamped or screened onto the fabric? The metallic is screened on. There is not a metallic dye, so to speak. Okay. So basically, if you're stamping this, or if you're using the chop, okay, you're dipping it into wax and holding the color. So if I were to do that with metallic, I would have to have the entire fabric colored in the metallic dye, which isn't going to happen. It doesn't work. So we do an overprint or a screen of the metallic after the whole chop or stamping process, or the whole batik process is done. Okay. So if you've asked questions or made a comment, we'll do a drawing. We send out a Fat Quarter bundle every week. Make sure to join me on Thursdays at 1 normally. And I appreciate you spending time with me. I hope you're supporting your local quilt shops and getting out to them, or giving them a call and letting them know how much they mean to you. Oh, how many new collections do I have in the works at once? Oh my goodness. I am finishing up our release for April. I'm working on September. And in my head, it's just a crazy, crazy place. I have so much going on. Some of the things take a long, long time to work, because I see it in my head, the different ways to do it and the different ways I would layer it. And it doesn't work all the time. So we have to work it out. I am so thankful for my team of artisans in Indonesia that I work with. They put up with me, and my nickname is Gila, which kind of means crazy, which is fun. You can always look to the Banyan Batiks for something different and unique and fun. Okay. Do I ever repeat a run? Ha! Yes. If we really we had a huge response to something, we will repeat it. And that has been actually our Ride On collection. Ride On 1 and Ride On 2, we repeated it. We repeated the Kilts and Quilts collection for Patience Griffin. And by the way, I do invite guest designers to join me because it gives just a fresh new look into our collections. Okay. So any other questions? Let me know. Oh, Laura's trying to write them down for me so I can see them, because I'm supposed to look at the camera, you guys. So anyway, if I don't get to your questions today, I will answer them on this, or maybe it will spark a new topic for next week. What do I do with the pieces that don't work? Okay. So we get strike-offs in. I ask for colorations that I think would work. I give them colors to match, and I think they will work. And sometimes not so much. It could determine, what if I put the yellow down first or the orange down first or something like that. And maybe it comes up muddy, or maybe it's not exactly what I was looking for. We keep a piece of it. We have a library here of all of the colorations that I've done. But then we take our strike-offs. I can't give it to quilters to use, but as a quilter, I can't throw it out. So we upcycle it. We have a local restaurant that we donate to. They use our strike-offs as napkins, and then they give me beignets back. That's an excellent exchange. I love it. So that's what we do with some of the things that don't work out. So if you happen to be in the Littleton, Colorado area and want to see what I'm working on, that would be the place to go because they get the strike offs before everybody else. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk soon. See you next week and have a great Thanksgiving.